Well, Keisha, we really appreciate you being on the Create Your News podcast. You have an extensive background. I'm going to let our viewers and listeners know a little bit more about you. So you're an award-winning cloud engineering and machine learning technology leader with over 25 years of IT experience. You've been recognized by industry leaders like Amazon Web Services, AWS, Forbes, and Oracle. And we know that you blend your technical expertise with leadership skills honed at Harvard Business School. Good for you. She holds multiple AWS certifications, including the machine learning specialty, and has won numerous awards for her predictive policing AI solutions. Keisha, thank you so much for being on this podcast with us. As we mentioned, you have an extensive AI background. I want to ask you, like many leaders, business leaders, they hear about AI. It's coming on so fast and furious. They might think it's a little bit out of reach. How do you explain what AI can actually do for a business this day and age in simple terms?
That is a great question. When I think about what AI can do for businesses, we've only really scratched the surface of what's possible. A lot of the organizations that I work with today, the way they use AI, it's to automate business processes, automate things that are repetitive, thinking of ways to just boost productivity, to have faster time to market for whatever it is, your product that you're trying to sell or whatever it is you're trying to do. I remember when I started my AI and machine learning journey back in 2017, that was the perception that I had about AI, that it was just this complex technology. You needed to be working in a research lab or going after your PhD in order to understand it. And that's really not the case. And where we are today with generative AI is just really what I've been waiting for since 2017, because we're now starting to realize the benefits of what this technology can bring.
And if a company wants to start using AI, if they're not using it right now, what's the very first step that you would recommend them do?
I would recommend starting with the business problem. That's an easy way to approach it. A lot of organizations like to start with tools like ChatGPT. Let's start to use ChatGPT without really thinking about what the business problem is they're trying to solve and what that end result for the business will be. And once they start with what is that business problem, I always recommend that companies do an AI assessment, because you really need to understand the state of your data. Data is critical for any AI project to be successful. So do that AI assessment, look at your data, look at your infrastructure, look at the resources of the team, the people on your team, look at their skill sets, and start to also think through a way to upskill them and prepare them to support and maintain whatever AI product you put in place.
So how do you do the AI assessment? Are you using a specific AI platform for that assessment?
No, it's the human part of AI to come in and understand the business problem and then look at the current landscape to really make sure that AI project is a success.
Before the podcast started, we have really been leaning into Generative Engine Optimization, a GEO. It's an extension of SEO. What would you tell companies to start doing now to get involved with Generative Engine Optimization so that they are populating on ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, any of the now many AI platforms that exist?
I was having a conversation with ChatGPT, as I often do.
Yeah.
And I asked ChatGPT, can you just tell me some of the good AI and machine learning courses on LinkedIn Learning? And my course came back as the top course.
Great.
I'm like, look at this. And I made sure I was not logged into ChatGPT. I was using it anonymously, so it didn't have the history of the conversations that I've had with it. And I thought to myself, how is that even possible? And I started to dig in, and I realized it's really important for organizations and platforms to make sure that the information about whatever product they have is in a machine, not a human readable format, but more of a machine readable format. So think about using a lot of text, avoiding images where possible, making sure that your Google business profile is up to date. On your website, you have text-based FAQs that really describe your company and your product. Because when you look at a lot of these large language models, they are trained on almost everything that you find on the internet. And so it's just really important that your presence is in this machine readable format.
Any other pointers when it comes to that, like what nonprofits, other businesses should be doing?
Your website, any blog articles that you write, it all becomes a part of your digital presence. And again, like I said, just make sure that where possible you can avoid images. But what we're seeing now with some of the later or newer forms of large language models, they're multimodal, meaning they can pick up and read like videos and they can read images. But at a bare minimum, you just need to make sure that you're using a lot of text to fully describe whatever product or whatever you want your digital presence to be.
Well, speaking of reading videos, obviously we create a lot of videos.
Right.
But it pains us when some of those videos are just uploaded to YouTube with no strategy. The descriptions might be missing, the tags might be missing as well. Can you speak about how important it is to use kind of some of those informal terms people might be using in ChatGPT or Claude, that they have that on the back end of their videos on YouTube?
Yeah, so like you mentioned around tagging and just really any type of metadata, like the title and the description, all of that goes into those large language models when they're looking at videos.
Do any companies come to mind that are using AI the right way? Do you have any great examples?
So Sephora has what they call this virtual try-on app. And it uses facial recognition, which is a form of AI, to actually look at the consumer and then make product recommendations and things like that. I think that is just a really cool way of using AI. And then around the holidays, Coca-Cola has this option where they use generative AI and they allow consumers to like generate images, generate like Christmas cards and things of that nature. I think we're just really starting to scratch the surface on how companies can think out of the box to use generative AI to just bring in more customers and just add unique experiences to their products.
You mentioned this a little bit, but where can AI really save businesses time and money?
First, you have to just look at your business processes across your organization and see where you have bottlenecks, see where things can be made repetitive. And that's just a great use of using AI. So that's where I always recommend organizations to start. But then if you're producing content, people today are using AI. Let's say you're going to write a blog post. You can have your bullet points and you can send that to AI to help pull out additional topics or ideas. People use AI to add captions to images, videos. And so there are just so many different places, but I always say look at your existing business processes, find where you have bottlenecks and where things can be automated.
Tell me about your LinkedIn courses. You said you were working over the weekend on one of your courses. Explain what you do.
Yeah, so on the side, so I have my regular 9 to 5, but on the side, I teach. And I realized that I had just this heart to teach and mentor maybe 14 or 15 years ago. And it was when I was working in the IT department of Chick-fil-A and I started moving up the career ladder. And it pulled me like further and further away from the hands-on technology building that was just always fun for me. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to make sure my technology skills stay up to date and I remain relevant? And I thought, well, maybe I can start teaching. And when I did that, I just realized how much I actually loved it, how much I love just mentoring and helping the younger generation and just sort of pull them along. And so that turned into like teaching part-time, speaking at conferences, writing blog posts. But teaching has really been the part that just brings me the most joy. So it doesn't even feel like work. And so I teach a lot of courses on LinkedIn Learning around AI, machine learning, that Java programming language that I mentioned. It's a lot of fun.
AI's been around for a while.
Right.
But it's really in the past couple of years just come on like that. And it is changing people's lives. And there are some that are like, wait a second, who's in charge here? What kind of, are we going to have Independence Day upon us? And, you know, what are we looking at? So what's your take on that?
Right. The science fiction movies have not helped with the overall perception. And some people may feel like AI is this brand new thing, but really it's not. It's been around for a very long time. But what has happened, ChatGPT, in my opinion, is really what took AI mainstream literally overnight. And some people maybe feel afraid, again, because of the science fiction movies. But when I think about how everyday people, regular people just use ChatGPT, there are ways that you can make sure that you're in control. So there are settings that you intentionally have to go in and flip on or off to ensure that your data is kept private, your conversations are kept private. And if you don't do that, it's important for people to understand that the conversations that you have with ChatGPT may be used to train the next version of ChatGPT.
Very interesting. How do you use ChatGPT? I've seen some of my colleagues, they've got one continuous chat. And I'm like, well, just start a new chat. That way you can go and revisit your chat.
Right.
How are you doing it?
Right. So definitely you do not want to have one continuous chat, because at a point in time, that chat will no longer serve you any purpose, because large language models have what's called a context window. Think of it as their memory, and it's limited for a given chat. So in the past, that's a lesson that I've learned, where I've just had so many conversations. It's like now it starts to air out. It can't answer any questions. And it tells me I need to start a new chat. And so for every specific topic, have a separate chat. And then there's also a feature within ChatGPT where it can look across all of your conversations in order to answer a question. And so you don't have to just have that one conversation thread. You can have multiple threads, and it's better to organize it that way. So when you go back and you need to look at something again, that's how you can do it.
Yeah, I find it very helpful having multiple chats, so I can go back and, I had a conversation with Chat about that last week. I'm going to go back and continue that conversation. Right. Are you using Claude, Gemini? Is there a preference for you?
Yeah, I've played around with the others. But for me, just OpenAI and ChatGPT and the GPT models have just always performed well above my expectations. Not to say the others don't, but ChatGPT and GPT-5.
It's where it's at.
It's where it's at.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I would just say that, we're entering this new era, and I don't want people to be like afraid, but be excited of what this generative AI and AI technology can do, and just think about ways that it can make your life easier. And just go in there and just start to play around with it, experiment with it, and then you'll start to see more ways that you can use it, different use cases that you can apply it to, and then you'll be hooked, honestly. And I've gotten a lot of my friends hooked on it. I'm like, you're not using ChatGPT for this? You should give it a try. And then months later, they're like, oh my goodness, I am so glad you told me.
Life-changing.
Right, it is. So just don't be afraid of it. And like I mentioned, there are ways that you can ensure the your data privacy and security within those tools. So just don't be afraid, embrace it.
Keisha, thank you so much for being on the Create Your News podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.